Teachers at Reddit, how easy is it to tell if a kid has a crush on somebody, and what are some entertaining stories surrounding that? Used to be a Calc 1 teaching assistant, this really smart kid kept coming up to the TA sessions because he very obviously had a crush on a girl, who would also show up to after hours. They would both be the only two people in the sessions. When they needed homework help, I'd ask them to solve the problems together and come to me if they had any questions, while I pretended to catch up on work but actually play GTA on my laptop. Sometimes I'd overhear them talking and getting to know each other. It was cute. He sure did make my life a hell of a lot easier. Right now I have two kids in my first period that just don't leave each other alone. The girl constantly complains if the boy doesn't show up to school. He is always pulling on her hair or finding any excuse to touch her. He likes to play thumb wars just to hold hands. It's really cute but also annoying because they refuse to do work sometimes. I usually get them to do work by saying a very loud and annoying or what. Teaching is fun. I hold a lot of class discussions. Sometimes it's easy because you'll notice kids smile different when their crush is talking. Their entire body will suddenly cue into that person. It's adorable. I have this one teacher that will totally just say anything that's on her mind. One she just flat out said, "Do you guys like each other or what?" to these two kids in my class. Within 3 days they were dating and still are. If they get married she better be in the front f***ing row. Incredibly obvious. It's also unfortunately obvious when they have a crush on you. Awkward as FCK. I've never purposefully helped my students get closer with their crushes. It's already hard enough to make a seating chart without considering these things, but I don't tease them about it like some do and might let a quick convo or note passing slip by if I catch on to what's going on. I had a student leave me a note once stating that she liked the boy sitting next to her. He used her for answers in class and ignored her the rest of the time. She was such a sweet girl. It was hard to watch. I really hope she started to be interested in boys worth her time when she entered high school the following year. I'm more than positive my teacher shipped me and my now GF when we were in 7th grade. For some reason like 3 weeks into the school year he moved a few people around and put this girl in front of me and we started talking pretty fast. Never got mad if we were done with work and turned around to start talking to each other. Never teased us either. He even rearranged the entire formation of desks a few times and always sat me and her together. We've stayed together through middle and high school. 10 years and counting and are planning on getting married. Edit. Oh hell yeah, we're totally inviting him to our future wedding. My little brother knows his son and last I heard from him he was super happy we were still together. Oh man. The longing stares across the room. The almost creepy wistful what ifs you can just see in their eyes. When I was in middle school. That was me. My high school teacher would change the seating chart and make her seat next to her crush if you told her. Though. Her one condition was that she'd keep you seated next to your crush even if you guys also broke up or stopped liking each other. God, if my 8th grade math teacher was on Reddit she'd tell a story about how she had to tell you Flynn lives. Hey moron. Stop playing SimCity 2000 for a second and pay attention to the girl sitting next to you. Teacher, it's usually easy to notice on students that are more reserved or a little troublemaker. It's amazing how a little crush can turn Johnny Never Talks into a student who raises his hand to answer every question. I currently have one who can be handful and is not the best at personal hygiene. One day he showed up with his hairbrush and 6 bottles of Axe body spray and that put off red flags. Sure enough at recess I see him with a girl on the swings. I'm a new teacher here, young and stuff, 21, as someone who went through that about 3 years ago. It's pretty obvious. During the training program I was in, we are assigned a teacher and observe and help teach the said class. During classroom discussions when I'll let the teacher do his thing, I would just sit and try and figure out who liked who. I was bored, I couldn't have my phone out. This one nerdy kid sat next to this girl. And he was just staring and staring. Funny thing is, Groups were getting assigned for like a silly project about evolution, where they would make a poster board at home, exchange phone numbers and stuff. And I got to choose the groups. My teacher mentor liked to incorporate me into class discussions and assignments. I purposefully put him and this girl in a group by themselves. Most groups were of 3 people. Little man. Full stop. Not a teacher but a former high school student. My teacher was in the middle of assigning new seats row by row. 1 seat at a time. The cute foreign exchange student got placed right next to me, my current seat, and then as she said my name and new seat I just yelled out no. She asked me if I'd prefer to stay where I was and I nodded. Totally bro move M's. Z thank you. I teach K8 and some of the older kids will tell me or their friends will tell me. A lot of the 5th grade girls like the middle school boys. And they just get all giggly and it's pretty adorable. There's a few of the slightly younger kids who I can tell might end up dating when they're older because of how they bicker. Just watching the dynamics that go on in the school is generally entertaining. I'd imagine it's like watching a show of a hyperactive community of monkeys socializing. It is ridiculously easy to tell at the high school level. They are not even remotely subtle. I'm actually finding at the 7th 8th grade level it's a little bit more of a challenge. Because they act so erratically all the time that it's hard to tell what is because of a crush and what is just them being 7th and 8th graders. I had a huge crush on my history teacher in high school. I'm pretty sure he could tell too. Because I was constantly drawing and painting pictures of him. And had him pose for a portrait once. Wonder what he thought, lol. It's easy to spot with some boys. When their female crush sits next to another boy, they'll loudly taunt them, saying, "Ooh, look who's sitting next to each other. Have you kissed yet?" But to be honest, a lot of crushes become obvious because friends come into class and yell at me. X is now dating Y. Always embarrassing for the new couple. Most of the time my brain then goes, didn't see that coming, but it makes a lot of sense. Middle schoolers are adorable. Student here. One of the teachers I had would place people next to each other sometimes if the teacher thought that some people might have a thing for each other. It was always the wrong people though and nothing really came it. Teenagers are so gossipy they just make obvious jokes and or just tell me, the teacher, who's their friend's crush just to make them feel uncomfortable. It's pretty adorable. Especially because it's usually boys and they are so shy about it. Not a teacher, but looking back on myself in high school it had to be painfully obvious. She would take my hand and draw on it all class. That was already a red flag, but she also would place my hand all over and give me a feel of everything. As a teenage boy I didn't mind, but boy was it not subtle at all. Ended up going to 2 homecomings and prom with her, so Kat was kind of out of the bag after that. I worked in a 4th grade room with 2 other teachers. And we had a bit of a bet all year about which of the boys, who had been stuck with the same class of girls since kindergarten, would fall in love with the new girl. We'd constantly point out signs to each other about our favorite contenders. Poor new girl was totally oblivious to all of it. I won in the end. We overheard the boy I was betting on ask her out on the last day. She told him she wasn't ready to date yet XD. Poor boy. It's always the quiet nerdy ones. It's pretty obvious. Especially the boys liking the girls. And the girls having a crush on the male teacher. When I taught PE, I showed the class how to do a headstand. And my shirt slipped down, up, dot. A couple of the girls' faces were redder than mine when I came back down. Haha. And they tease each other about it. At the high school level it's really simple actually for boys. Which is surprising because it never seemed that way when I was a teen. You'll see them doing everything they can to get closer to the young lady and impress her. Chemistry? Hey. Mia. I don't know this, can we be lab partners? ALGI? Oh. I know the answer. Let me reach over you and show you. Hey. Look how hard I can throw the dodgeball. Doesn't my strength impress you? Isk? Hey. It's track preseason. even though we run totally different events distances. Want to train together after school? Oh my god. Yes. We always know. The most blatant one is when a student came to me talking about how one of the girls in class kept looking at him and he couldn't focus. It's weird. And she looks like a bug. Pulled her aside to ask if she liked him. And she nodded up and down really fast and excited. I had to talk to her about not staring and she said she understood. She stopped staring. But started sitting in front of him and twerking in her seat. Or dropping things and bending over to get them in front of him. They were in 6th grade. We had multiple parent-teacher conferences about it. I feel really weird reading this thread. Never had a crush until I was 16. Ah well. Late bloomer I guess. Consider yourself lucky. It's very obvious. Once when collecting midterm exams, I noticed that there were 2 exams with Hank on the front. There's only one in the class. I'm like, Hank, get over here. Why do you have 2 exams? He didn't know. I went through the exams and found Megan's exam missing. She's had a crush on him for forever and wrote his name on her exam by mistake. How one does that by mistake is still beyond me. Not a teacher. But one time my teacher overheard me debating with my friends if I should tell him I liked him and my teacher went, who? Robert? In grades 4-6 they actually interact with the opposite gender. It starts with actually talking to each other, lending pencils etc. Eventually they will start antagonizing or pestering each other. At this point, when it is disruptive to the class, I'll start calling them out. And they pretend to be incredibly disgusted. Dude, just ask her out on a date already so we can move on and get back to work. Hey. It's 2019 and girls can ask out boys on a date now. So just get it over with so we can get back to our work. Reading all of this, I'm almost certain my senior year stats teacher was trying to hook me up with the hot girl in class. Props to you, MR. Gee, but my dumbass missed all the signs until it was far too late, lol. I just realized my algebra teacher did this for me. Last year, one of my students, 13 years old, had a crush on one of his classmates. Except he didn't really know how to express it. After annoying her verbally for a few times, he ended up cutting a strand of her hair during class. Semicolon. Not very entertaining but so cute. A few weeks ago 2 of my students, 13 as well, held hands while going out of the classroom at the end of the lesson. Do you think when I took to one knee and proposed to a girl in my class my teacher might have noticed something was up? Asking for a friend? Probably not. Not a teacher. But we had to do this V-Day matchmaking thing in 6th grade. I got matched with my crush. I was pretty happy. It must be destiny. I was in gifted. They kept you segregated in elementary school. But then jump ahead to high school. All your honors and app classmates are your elementary school buddies. So in 12th grade, I'm sitting next to that girl and randomly bring it up. Explained I had a huge crush on her at the time. She had no idea. I kept that pretty tight-lipped. Everyone else chimes in they didn't know either. Then it's like, oh. We never saw the matchmaking results. Did a quick poll. At least one person in every match had a crush on the other. Teachers knew. Work with middle school aged students. Young guy has this massive crush on a young lady his age. This kid is so obvious about it he might as well have taken out a billboard. To round it all out, he is right at the age where there is a near generational difference in maturity between the average guy and average girl. You could just see the distaste in the young lady's eyes. Look of, oh dear lord, you aren't even on my intellectual plane of existence, please go away. I'm not a teacher, but my 5-year-old daughter has a classmate who would always stare at her smiling and then tell her she's pretty. One time I brought her to school a bit late, sorry, and the little boy was insisting that my daughter sit beside him. Thing is, there's already a kid beside him, so he keeps trying to push the kid away. It's pretty easy when you assign group work and students go ooh when you call out certain names together. I end up finding it accidentally most of the time, but some kids are really open about it. Funny story. I once paired up a guy with his crush, since I thought he would take it more seriously, to do the chemistry lab together. The experiment was to explore the different tests for gases: burning splint for hydrogen, glowing splint for oxygen, lime water for carbon dioxide, etc. The girl got startled by the pop noise from the hydrogen gas test that she yelped, dropped the test tube, and fell backwards. Miraculously, the guy caught both her and the test tube, and the entire class whistled and cheered. They started dating shortly after and were still together when I left the school the year after. We always know. Teachers know everything. Any teacher who appears not to know something just has a really good poker face or is prioritizing stuff. You broke a rule and didn't get caught? We saw. We just picked our battles. You did coke in the bathroom? Dude. I've done coke. I know what a coked up teenager looks like. I can tell the difference between when you're stoned, when you're on opiates, when you're on uppers, when you've taken your meds, when you haven't taken your meds. You fingered Stacy at the dance? The whole faculty lounge knows. You told everyone you fingered Stacy at the dance? We all know you told everyone. And we know you're a f-king loser. You're secretly gay? We know. That's if we are pro-LGBTQ. If we are a bigoted rural teacher, there's a chance that we have no idea what gay looks like. Close bracket. We are the all-seeing eye. In first grade I gave Brandon this note that was basically I like you. Do you like me? Circle yes or no. That little snitch ass bitch took it to our teacher and she reprimanded me in front of our who class. MRS. Age. I hope you're dead. Or 150 and miserable. Anyway. I cried and I got reprimanded for that. Kindergarten. Here. Kids that crush on a teacher. Very obvious. And endearing. I have one student this year that has some ridiculous game for a 5-year-old boy. His compliments are top tier. MRS. Foot in mouth. I love you to death. You are the cutest girl here. Wanna share my rates? You've had a hard day. If it wasn't wildly inappropriate, I would tell him to make sure to use condoms when he's older. This Valentine's, I witnessed a girl drop her street address, since no one has a home phone anymore, into a little boy's bag. He was, by far, the smartest boy in class. And I secretly applauded her choice. How I react to it depends on the student's home life situation. The harder the home life, the more I'll let him indulge in his fantasy so that he has a better chance at gaining a positive relationship with his school environment. I know when they get older, they will look for ways to escape their home environment. And I always hope that place they run to is school. This explained so much of my childhood. Bro. Not a teacher, but when I was in 6th grade my female, though not important but just to point out, math teacher knew I had a crush on this one guy, who turned out to be a douche and a pretty stupid one at that, and she knew instantly because of the guys I've liked in the past. Which makes me wonder if she ever stalks or eavesdrop on her students' conversations. Though I wouldn't surprise due to how loud they are and how much rumors spread. Lol. I used to fool around so much in class with everyone that the teacher kept gesturing the finger in whole thing. I didn't know what it was at the time until years later. It's pretty f-king easy to tell. But hormonal teenagers are not subtle. I have an answer that is kind of the opposite of what you asked. When I was in 9th grade I think, there were 2 kids in my English class who were crushing on each other, ended up dating later, and it was obvious the teacher was shipping them. Teachers. We notice you too. Not a teacher. But I'm currently in high school, final year woohoo. Close bracket. When I asked out my crush it came as a surprise to her. And when I told a few of my friends who asked her out they were surprised too. Apparently everyone over the age of 21 knew I have a crush on her, to the point where my mom and her mom literally were discussing it. I thought I was so subtle. Reading this tells me I'm mistaken. Shti. A few things to add. She's a year older than me and just moved states, so she said no cause she didn't want to lead me on. We stay in contact though. So there may be hope for the future after I finish in November. But right now it's not gonna work.